As my role as host of this program, I will endeavor to answer your questions to the best of my ability using our Catholic faith, the Bible, our tradition, our popes, councils, saints, doctors, theologians, and just about anything that will help you walk away satisfied that your question has been answered. We as Christians are wondering just what our stance is to be, how we're supposed to interpret the things that have happened recently in politics and even globally, with the New World Order, so-called, and the globalists and the elitists and all those terms that are flying around now. Just what is our prerogatives as Christians? What can we do? And I was saying that one of the things that we can do is like David does in the Psalms, where he prays imprecatory prayers. And what they are prayers in which we pray that God will judge our enemies and remove them from the scene, so to speak. And I say so to speak because we're not praying for their death. We're not praying for harm. We are just praying that in God's own way, he will take them out of the way so that we can live our Christian lives under as much peace and contentment as is possible on this earth. And sometimes that's only possible if the evil people are taken out of the way. And someone was objected to what he thought was what I was saying, and that is that imprecatory prayer implied that we aren't to pray for their salvation. It does not imply that at all. And we would have to say, to make it clear, that imprecatory prayer has nothing to do with salvation at all. Okay, so don't confuse those two things. Although I would say that even in the area of praying for someone's salvation, although in the general sense of the notion, we really, should always pray for someone's salvation if we believe they're not saved. And especially some of them who think they're saved, who believe in abortion or homosexual marriage or, whatever, and they still think they're saved. And this is the freedom a Catholic Christian has to believe in these things that have always been understood as immoral. And so they think that they're, upstanding Catholics because, they have the freedom to believe these things. They don't have to go by all what the church says. And, the question would come up if you're debating the issue, should I keep praying for this person, or should I even start? And even in that realm where we would instinctively say, well, of course, we're going to pray for them, their salvation, there is that time where Jesus says, don't cast your pearls before swine. And that's preaching the gospel to them. Don't bother, in other words, preaching the gospel to them. They're not going to listen. And he's telling us to do that. Okay, it's not just his omniscience where he figures out somebody isn't going to be saved, and so then he can say, stop praying for them. Don't cast your pearls before swine. No, he's telling that to us. So we're going to have to make the judgment. So how do we do that? Well, we don't have an exact way we can know, but we can come pretty close. Okay. When someone who is a Catholic starts saying that, abortion and homosexuality are okay, it's kind of hard not to say that they've crossed the line, and the chances of them coming back to the faith are, pretty minimal. So we can come that close. And there are a lot of Catholics out there today in which we would have to put them in that category. Okay, a lot of major politicians. So, hey, I'm not going to be the one to tell you not to pray for the salvation, okay? But I'm just telling you that it can come pretty close to where you just wonder. And but the imprecatory prayer issue, that applies to any evil person, Catholic, non-Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, whoever is in leadership and is doing bad things and causing us to suffer, be persecuted, and not being able to live a normal life, and you're out of a job, or any number of things that can happen, are when we are called to be Christians that are going to suffer before we get the heavenly reward. Does that mean that, we're just like doormats and whoever chooses to make us suffer, well, we just accept it? On the one hand, yeah, we accept the suffering that comes to us, but it doesn't mean that we're consigned to suffer, okay? Especially if it's been quite a while and we want God to intervene. Well, the Bible tells us that we can ask God to intervene. And he, being who he is going to decide whether that's wise or unwise, appropriate at the time or not appropriate. But at least we can pray that prayer. God, judge them and take them out of the way, as David used to do in the Psalms. Okay, so, but the main message here is don't confuse imprecatory prayer with whether the person eventually ends up saved or whether we can pray for their salvation. They're two entirely different things.